What's holding AI adoption back? And how can the right data infrastructure maybe remove some of those roadblocks that are preventing you making progress or getting those projects out of pilot phase? So today I'm going to be talking with the VP and Field CTO at MongoDB. His name's Boris, and together we're going to discuss how businesses are moving from AI experimentation to enterprise scale transformation. So from integrating complex AI workflows to building trust in machine learning outcomes, Boris is going to bring much needed clarity to some of the challenges that many organizations are still navigating. And he will also share how AI-powered credit scoring can support unbanked populations by evaluating behavior and context rather than that outdated rules-based systems. He's also got some real-world examples from Africa, Brazil, Southeast Asia, and will highlight how AI is already reshaping financial inclusion on a global scale. So with so many companies still struggling to bridge the gap between business goals and technical execution, prepare to hear how MongoDB is helping unify siloed data and modernize legacy systems into AI-ready platforms. But data does need to be operational and intelligence, and all this starts with rethinking how it's structured and how it's accessed. So how can your company move from isolated AI experiments to sustainable innovation that actually solves real-world problems? If these are the kind of questions you find yourself asking, hopefully my guest will provide you with some of those answers. But enough from me. Let's get Boris onto the podcast now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Boris. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
First, Neil, thanks for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be here on your podcast. My name is Boris Bialek. I'm the VP Industries and Field CTO at MongoDB. And yeah, I'm a 40-year-old veteran in IT. You see no hair left. You run enough projects, no hair is left. It's kind of a status symbol in our industry. And I started out with actually the first Pentium 66 on SAP and never looked back. And I'm now with 6 years at MongoDB and I'm taking care of the industry space there and the integration and solutions.
Well, thank you for joining me today. So much I want to talk about with you, especially because MongoDB has been appearing in my newsfeed a little more than usual this year. So tell me more about why MongoDB, I think, acquired Voyage AI and what specific problems it solves for developers. Because you guys have been incredibly busy, haven't you?
Oh yeah, it's an amazing year so far. And as you know, every IT company will tell you, oh yeah, this year's amazing and next year will be more amazing. But it's actually true. We had an amazing release with our MongoDB version 8 out. It was unbelievable received. When, normally databases release and then people say, yes, in 3 years I adopt. And now we have so many people jumping on MongoDB 8 because they see the performance improvements and other things we have done. But let's get into Voyage AI, which is obviously very exciting. Most and foremost, MongoDB is a people company. We care about people, and the Voyage team is unbelievably highly educated background from Stanford University to Princeton, MIT. It's pretty much the who's who. And what they bring us really into the team is these unbelievable deep skills to drive a deep integration of AI capabilities and models and re-rankers, which are, by the way, broadly utilized in the industry. So people always ask me, does Voyage AI has any clients? And yes, indeed. So companies like Anthropic or LangChain, they are based actually their models on Voyage AI. So it's a very well-known entity in the, let's say, more the aficionado space, we would call that. And when we take a look, it's really these embeddings and the re-rankers are absolutely perfect fit to MongoDB and the database side, because when you think about it, data are the core really these days to AI, and the models building on top of these, the re-rankers building on top of these data are really bringing these things all together and make it a whole story. And it was kind of a whole what we had and what we felt we need to fill to really deliver an end-to-end solution for our AI clients. It sounds a little bit fluffy, but when you think about it, the whole integration from data with model, you want to have a signal, you get a signal in of something, you want to model it, you vectorize it, you vector search, text search, hybrid search, and then you get the data into an LLM, data coming out, re-rank. You can do this with 10 products. So somebody showed me a beautiful picture from a company, 18 products are nearly flawed, 18 different things. And they were so proud of it. It says, how do you integrate this one? Well, we have a site reliability engineering organization. And I was thinking like, holy smokes, and version 2. So, and I mean, we've both been there in those days, right?
Yeah.
So, and Mongo really tries to simplify that one for you. That's why Voyage AI is so exciting, and the combination is really, really exciting for our clients.
And the developer community has been brought alive by AI and more recently vibe coding. There's a lot of excitement in this space at the moment. So more specifically, how are you at MongoDB helping to simplify that developer experience when building AI-powered applications? Because it feels like there's so many opportunities for developers at all skill levels here.
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. And to look back from the side where I just started out of these integration simplicity, when I talk to developers, they really want to focus on the application space. I mean, when you want to drive a race car, you don't want to get into the production of caoutchouc for tire production first. And this is a little bit what it felt for developers. And when we take a look what we're doing, we're really simplifying this. You have one API. To give you an example, we have a rank fusion command in our aggregations. You do $rank fusion and it does a hybrid search for you. Nothing prevents you to build and accept into an external search engine, external vector search database, get it. Oh, by the way, we built an ETL stream to get the data over. You see the picture. Developers want to do $rank fusion. They want to look at the results. They want to utilize it as an index in their systems. They want to drive values in their coding. They don't want to do plumbing all the day. And I think developers were held back by that plumbing a lot. And when I admitted that even my first rec application, I was a little bit turned off how many steps I had to go through to do this really, really well. And by now I can do this with 3 simple steps inside the database. Back to hashtag Voyage AI, MongoDB together. This works really out. The second part is these real-time context-aware integrations becoming really exciting for developers. It's not anymore I coined the term from lab coats to hoodies once, and this stuck on me, which is the first AI solutions were very much machine learning, going forward, and then the same people built AI. And that is still valid if you do this backward-looking data. That is still existing, but when you see what is exciting, it's what does Neil wants to do now? What is Neil's true desire in this moment to go shopping? And maybe he really wants a blueberry yogurt and not the little phrase. So you see where I'm going. And these single data sets is so exciting for developers to customize things on individual decisions, which is a huge step forward, which you couldn't do before. And this honestly drives the developer adoption and is really driving their behavior as well. And the simplicity is a big part of it. When I showed last week to a very senior executive of an Indian bank, within 3 clicks, you could create a vector database inside of MongoDB and 2 commands, and you were up to the races. The gentleman had little tears in his eyes.
What a beautiful moment. And
it was intense, unbelievably intense. It was beautiful.
And another area that I know you're passionate about after doing a little research on you before you joined me on the podcast today, and an area that you probably, or many people listening, wouldn't associate with MongoDB or technology, and that is credit scoring. So from your viewpoint here, what are the main limitations of that traditional credit scoring model that we see all around the world? And how can AI offer a maybe more inclusive alternative in your view?
Yeah, credit scoring is one of the things. I think it's a bane of our existence. We all know, right? Latest when you go into the bank saying, can we discuss a mortgage the first time in my life? By the way, my income is a little bit unstable and I'm self-employed. And we all have been in these moments in our life and they're not really exciting, to be honest. But the key part is classical credit scoring was rule-based, very strict rule-based. Boris is a good person. He has 3 months paycheck. He pays off his credit card. So let's give him a certain amount of points and we call this a credit score. What does it tell about me tomorrow? Does it tell about me as a person? What does it tell about my ethical behavior in banking? Nothing. So, and when you go into the bigger picture and you start considering how many people in the world are considered unbanked, Unbanked are people who don't have access to a big bank account, going to a bank branch, drink a coffee, get your credit card, or do it online, doesn't matter. There's so many people who are simply unbanked, but who actually deserve to have access to the system and get ahead with this one. And this is where I personally think very strongly about what can we do with AI to do that. And the real trick is to rethink, what does a credit score mean? A credit score stands for your behavior. Are you paying utility bills? How are you acting out? So very much simplified, and this is not happening in real time, but basically, if you go shopping and you have, let's say, no bank account, you have nothing, nobody will know about you. But imagine you have a system which runs on the credit card based model, but you don't have a credit card. It runs over your cell phone bill. And that's called M-Pesa in Africa. That is something like PicPay, which runs in Brazil. Both, by the way, run partially on MongoDB as well. And then you can say, okay, Boris is a good person because he buys always vegetables and goes to the same supermarket. And by the way, has a very stable cash flow and behaves very well. And it doesn't look like he's doing anything funky, versus Boris number 2, who's spending half of his money in very disgusting liquor store. And every time, so I try to make this up a little bit. It's a little more intellectual. Is what do other people know about Neil and Boris? What do they know about our environment? Oh, we are stable individuals with families around us, so that speaks for us. We didn't move houses. So you build a complete bigger picture, and this is not about big brothers watching you. This is enabling people to think about people living in the favelas of Brazil, in the rather underserved areas of Mumbai, which I visited just 2 weeks ago. And when you see environments like that, and you talk about how can you enable people like that to join the system, this is amazing. And this is where credit scoring and credit fraud comes in, because the other side is true as well. Fraudsters becoming more critical and becoming much more sophisticated. And last thing what we want is that people honestly steal stuff from us. And that's where two sides of the same middle. One is a scoring side, valuation of behaviors and people. The other one is knowing that Boris is right now in Mumbai, and Boris doesn't really buying right now stuff in, let's say, Singapore with a vendor in Shanghai and delivery in Beijing. That maybe does not sound all really kosher, right? And when we take a look at that, that's basically where we come in and what we're doing with MongoDB these days. I know this was, again, very high level, but you asked a high level question here.
100%. And I think for many people listening, we have people listening all around the world, many of which will have banking and have that luxury in their life. But it's so important to highlight that for many other people listening, 27% of adults around the world are currently unbanked, which is a huge figure there. So how do you see alternative data sources like utility payments and mobile usage to be used to assess that creditworthiness? Anything else you can share around that or expand on what you just said?
We have a very interesting partner company or client or whatever you call that, Proxtera in Singapore, and they do this in Africa. Think about your small, medium business in Rwanda, and you want to give credit to another business to ship stuff into Uganda. And how do you know these people? And hey, you ship them $2,000 in goods. So, and they can do this assessment out of Chamber of Commerce, Facebook pages, Facebook traffic, things, very, very interesting subjects. And they extract out of that one profiles. And those profiles get stored in MongoDB. We're using AI technologies. And when you see this, this enables people to do business, which they couldn't do before. And this is really the same when you look at the unbanked people, what we discussed about, the same concept. You're going and building profiles, and you're building profiles obviously with the consent of the people. That's very important, but you deliver a clear value by telling them, I built some information up about you, but I can give you a microfinance credit, for example, to start buying a small generator to do some business from home or things like that. So with the generator, you can run a cold chain and suddenly you can some cool goods at your place. Things like that. And then you pay this back off. And all of this information gets stored and put into context with AI. And this is one of the positive use cases. Think about not AI just as the LLM you ask magic cookie questions, but think about somebody wants to build. So what kind of generator should Boris find is realistic? Would be a question to ask an LLM, and comes back, well, a model in the 1 kilowatt range with the following attributes would be realistic. Now we can feed that information into the credit request. So I'm just following through, and this allows me then, okay, and Boris requests actually 1 kilowatt generator. So that looks very legit to me. And Boris had 3 microcredits before and paid them off over the last 8 months. So we give him another 3 months microcredit so that he can buy this generator and expand his little business, what he started to build. And you expand really the life of people with this, and you allow them to participate in the digital commerce world. Imagine somebody's working daily labor and has to run around with money, and that person doesn't want to have the money loose in his pockets or her pockets. So now digital payments allow these people's peak pay to be participating on the economy without having a bank account, without having that infrastructure, and being able to do that. And the AI system is protecting them that nobody can steal their money out of the little pocket accounts, wallet, what they have on the cell phone. And this combination is, for me, pretty amazing.
And credit scoring, as you've just detailed there, is a great example of how AI can help unbanked individuals and even businesses. And if we now come to, Europe or corporate America and AI adoption there, what are the biggest barriers that you see preventing companies from adopting AI more widely?
I think this is a very simple example. How did we start AI in the business? Let's take a step back. ChatGPT started, emergency board meeting. We need an AI strategy. Board to the CTO. We need an AI strategy. CTO, we have an AI strategy. Everybody's happy. What is the strategy? Let's do some experiments. We need some quick wins. Neil admitted this. We have seen this again and again, and it's not bad. It makes total sense. Yeah. So people start experimenting, have some quick wins, maybe the chatbot here, the internal summary tool there. Great. But then they start to get more fancy and want to do more complex things. What do they have problems with? And now back to the beginning of our discussions, 18 components. And then somebody says, oh, by the way, we need to do quarterly updates because the LLM is changing, the embeddings are changing, and how are we dealing with hallucinations? And at that point comes a business look at it. This looks weird. Did anybody of you ask us before why we do this? And that fails. And so I start to do a lot of projects where I bring business together with the side of the technology. And a great example is what Novo Nordisk did with their NovoScribe project. So there was a business need to optimize clinical study reports, which was locking somebody up for 15 weeks to write a clinical study report. By now, this is done with AI help in 10 minutes. And the people are not unhappy to be locked up for 12 to 15 weeks writing the stuff. They're happy. This was an annoying task they had to do besides their regular daily jobs. So when you think about this one, business wanted faster results, better results. Technology, AI, MongoDB with AWS and LangChain was able to drive a solution together with the amazing tech teams. And that together built a solution. And then we iterated on this one. And now this is in production way over the initial use cases beyond. This is where you drive really the results. You have to bring the business together with the tech people and really say, what do we try to solve? AI for the sake of AI is pretty much waste of time. And the good things what we see there is companies try to get this. And little bit side plug here again to the beginning, an integrated solution, what we are delivering allows them to iterate fast solutions. It's not, you need 12, 18 months and then you have a prototype and how do you get this in production and people get nervous. We can get solutions done in weeks with our clients together in an environment which is actually production ready and stable with our Atlas platform. It's not that you need to plug things together. You have one environment and you get it done. And this is really what drives the adoption right now.
And there's so many great examples there. And I think over the last few years, we've seen so many AI projects stuck in pilot phase, struggling to find the ROI of their investment, mainly because many went straight in with tech first, problems second. And of course, even if we put all that to one side, why do you think so many organizations are still hesitant or afraid to engage with AI transformation?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is the word hallucination comes up regularly, right?
Yeah.
And can we really trust the system? Who God's the guardian comes up regularly as a space. So I think the right starting point is, when you think about how we are doing this one, we have our embedding models. We allow people to experiment inside the database in a safe space and do A/B testing of different models with different vectors. I have clients with 3, 4 different vector versions and trying to figure out what is actually good for them. What does good looks like? And that drives already the better embeddings. And that's where Voyage AI comes in. We have world-class embeddings. And then the re-ranker afterwards, when you go to an LLM out, get data back and bring this and mesh this data up, you get multiple percentage points better results. And you can compare what is in better A/B. And I have clients to as well 2 out of 3. If 2 out of 3 results are not identical, it's a very classical approach. Probably they are wrong. If you ask people 3 questions and you get 3 different answers to the same question, maybe not really reliable. So we get around these hallucinations. And when you start with clients to build concepts that catch those hallucinations, then you win. A good example is claims management insurance. So one of the most annoying things is, for example, windshield damage in a car. So historically, you make pictures, you send it in, some weeks later you get a report. Yeah, looks like you have a damage and looks like we will pay for it. Congratulations. What is better? You send some pictures in, you describe what happened, and AI can solve 90% of the cases are obvious because it can compare the pictures, the text, what you write, everything's around that one done, sends you settlement, tells you which shop to go to. 2 days later, glass is fixed, happy client. 5% look like, I can't figure this one out. Hashtag maybe hallucination, maybe something wrong. And 5% maybe fraud, maybe hallucination. Well, if you get 9 out of 10 fully optimized and 9 Neils are happy and 1 Neil is maybe unhappy at this point or not getting a nice message, we need to look into it further. We come back to you. The adjusters need to look in 1 out of 10 cases, not into 10. So you have a lot of better service quality, faster response times, and hallucinations are gone. When you look at cases like this, and we worked with a client through that model, they did this. I get it. We can get around the hallucinations by making decisions which are clear. And if a decision is clear, you tell the client this is a clear decision. But if you are not sure if the decision is clean, make the decision to tell the client, I'm not sure if my eye can answer that one. Why don't you talk to a human individual? And I think people appreciate this one. It's better this approach than to say, well, Boris, you have no windshield. You have a door damage. You look at the windshield. This thing is nuts. It's the shield, not the door. So you try to avoid situations like that. It's not really trustworthy. And that is where people start to adjust things more. And these concepts, how do I get not around hallucinations, but how do I deal with maybe a suboptimal LLM? That's one part. The second part is LLMs improve every month. You cannot build a software where you're sitting on and say, I deploy it and look at it in 5 years. You need to be flexible that you replace your LLMs literally monthly, quarterly, update your models, update your re-rankers, do all of these things. And this is a change in mindset. This is, again, back to your beginning question. The developers need to act in. A developer needs to act and needs to be able to quick change. If you say 18 components, let's adjust this. Why don't we have an architecture meeting and a refactoring of the code? Too late. So this is where I think AI changes and where the barriers coming and you can break them down. I really believe in this breakdown option.
And as someone that has the ear of tech teams all around the world, I'm curious, what are the cost and complexity challenges that you see developers facing today when integrating AI? Are there any trends there in the kind of conversations that you're having around some of those complexity challenges? And how are you at MongoDB addressing them? Because I would imagine that you're the first port of call for many of these businesses.
Yeah, the cost, one part is the big cost of tokens. The token costs come massively down right now and people are really happy, but token costs down multiplied by suddenly 10 million token requests versus 1,000 in a development environment, that has impact. By the way, another reason for a lot of projects which get stalled because suddenly people look at the price point. So we're doing a lot of work there by avoiding even going to the LLM for two reasons. One is speed of the query. You get a signal into a system, you embed real time, get the data into a vector search, get the data back out again. And then, to be honest, do I need to go to the LLM? Maybe this is a rote question, which I have a rote answer already, because if I answer 1 million questions a day, what is this vegetable soup about? Then the answer cannot be vegetables. It needs to be a little bit more detailed, but well, you have the ingredients already listed. So you can do this with another vector layer, get the answer back and provide it very fast back. That's one part where developers can get help from us. We can do this inside the database, no extra additional components needed. So that's a big part. And the second part is, yes, this pure concept of beauty of integration by not going somewhere else externally. Obviously, it's much more cost efficient to have one system to run than 18 systems to run. And by being able to do this, you save as well time and speed. Testing cycles. Typically, I'll give you an example out of the financial services space, back to your fraud examples. We were able to deploy a solution for a client rather fast, but the big thing for him was data transparency. So you need to understand where are the data coming from, where they're moving. In MongoDB, we have a document model. In the document model, you can annotate. This data set comes from data source A, let's say Boris's phone, and he uses credit card. We can annotate those data in real time. So we have always an absolute transparency on data to us as well as to the client, what we're doing. And that is removing a lot of hassles when you think about what happens about version 2. What happens about the auditor? What about compliance, regulation? Typical FSI problem. We have this all done inside one system with a very, very small overhead versus, let's say, other solutions with way more components and complexities. And this is why we have so many people using our software. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And as for yourselves, where do you see MongoDB's role evolving as AI applications, as they inevitably become more deeply embedded in everyday business processes? I would imagine you guys are on your own transformational journey. So how do you see that role evolving?
Oh, absolutely. We see right now two areas where we are really helping people. The first part is really unsiloing the silos. This is the biggest part. Break them down, siloed data, stuck in historical systems. You cannot go to 8 relational databases and try to figure out where my data are while I try to answer a real-time question about fraud detection. That's a no-go. So you build up what we call operational data stores or operational data layers on top and basically get out of those data. And then the clients come to saying, I want to get rid of the old legacy applications too. And that's the second part. We're data people. We were actually never really into the application business for obvious reasons. And now we start to build more intellectual capabilities in regards of replacing what we call the modernization. We're modernizing, helping clients with AI tools, with a whole set of tools around that one to modernize their legacy application stack, simply because we have done it so many times. And to be honest, people trust us by now that with our data models and everything what we're doing, they trust the data to us. So suddenly we become interested to have discussions on applications too. And this starts from analyzing what we have on code to building automatic test cases to actually code migration, code conversion on the fly, refactoring code into microservices. So there's a lot of stuff happening there, which we call modernization. But the key part is these, I heard the term by now last week, knowledge garden. I love that. The knowledge garden, where you get your knowledge into a layer brought in, where you can basically plant your AI solutions inside and get real-time access to this data. And this is really where MongoDB is shining. And this is honestly why we're growing so fast and why people appreciate us being around.
And on a personal level, I suspect that throughout your career in the tech trenches, you must have picked up more than a few war stories as you earned your stripes out there in the field. So are you able to share your funniest or most interesting story that has happened in your career? I suspect there's some you can, some you can't, but which one can you share with us today?
The funniest one, when I started building out the first PC servers, I will never forget that one. And there was something called an Adaptic 2742C adapter. Alone that I remember that number after 35 years gives you probably pain. And there was a famous blue screen of death when you booted the first Windows NT machines. And we told the client, yeah, this is normal. The CPU is warming up. and he bought it. And then we got it fixed. And he opened up a support ticket saying, there's a problem, the CPUs. Oh, this is integrated now. 2 years later, I told the client about it, and he was laughing. He was so laughing. We had such a good time. But this gives me, it keeps me very, very aware always that some things in our IT happen, and you have to be at the end, come clean. Otherwise you will not be successful. You have this intellectual honesty on you, but sometimes when you build the first things, if you're desperate, you do desperate measures. So live with what the people are doing. And this kept me my whole life around. I will never forget that moment. And yes, this is still my funniest moment. I think it's unbeatable, to be honest.
Yeah, what a great story, man. I can see why you've remembered that, how it stuck with you. And for anyone listening that just wants to maybe carry on a conversation with you or learn more about MongoDB, where would you like to point them today?
Well, obviously we have multiple sources, and at this point, normally I should pull out my book, which is not to be published in September. We're just publishing a new AI book, so check end of September for that one. But we have actually we call it The Art of Innovation, a 200 pages book done last year. So it's basically outdated. I apologize, but it's still pretty cool. And if you just look for it, The Art of Innovation on MongoDB's website, you will find that. And obviously the other thing is learnmongodb.com. We have these cute little skill badges, and a lot of people don't want to go to classes anymore, including me. I admit it. I'm tired of sitting for 5 days and people on the screen, one screen after the other. We've been there. So our skill badges give you these 60 minutes quick experience to try something out. They teach you something, then you can do it. And then maybe tomorrow you do another badge and they give you little badges. It's a little bit like, part-time evening school. You do once a week, an hour, and suddenly you speak French. That's pretty much what we're doing for AI for people, and a lot of people utilizing this one. And it's very easy to do from home. There are hands-on labs as well available around that one. This is probably one of the coolest things to learn MongoDB and learn about AI.
Awesome. Well, I'll get links added to make that easy for people to find everything. And I just love chatting with you today. We covered a lot from how AI, we've moved from the fear of missing out to almost the fear of figuring it out, with too many organizations experiencing that fear to embrace AI change. But also outside of that, I think your passion about how to uplift the credit invisible with AI credit scoring is hugely of interest. And also your new book, I'm going to be checking that out when it comes. And also you had time to leave us with a very funny story too, which will also stick with me. But just thank you for a wonderful conversation today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Neil, for having me. It was really awesome talk. Thank you so much.
How can we expect AI to deliver meaningful result if our data remains scattered, outdated, siloed? And I think because of those things, this conversation with Boris today offered a clear path forward. Start by solving the data problem, and AI integration will then become far more achievable. And I think MongoDB's evolution into an AI-enabling platform is also quite timely. From simplifying workflows and eliminating fragmentation, it's helping developers now. It's helping both developers and businesses keep pace with the speed of rapid change, but without losing sight of reliability or trust. But what really stood out for me in today's conversation was the human impact of AI. Alternative credit scoring powered by behavioural data. These kind of things are not just technical upgrades. They are a bridge to opportunity for millions that are left out of the traditional banking system. And when AI is built on inclusive data models and accessible infrastructure, we're actually opening the doors far beyond the enterprise. So my biggest takeaway, AI success depends on that strong foundation. And that starts with unified, transparent and operational data. And what would your business unlock if it had all those things in place? Tech blog writer at outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Love to hear your thoughts on this one. But that is it for today. We've reached the end of another episode. Please like and subscribe. Come back tomorrow. We'll have another guest waiting for you. But thank you for listening today. And I'll speak with you all soon. Bye for now.